You're listening to the Live Out Loud podcast with River Wynn and Michele Flamer.
Hi, River.
Hi, Michele.
How are you today?
I'm good. I've got my chai. It's sunny out today. It's good. It's a good day.
I love it. Gosh, Christmas is literally a few days away, so I'm sure everyone in the hustle and bustle of it all, I'm very grateful. I have literally one gift to buy left over, and calling it a day. And I say there is a special, beautiful human being who is joining us for her second episode with us. We've got like back-to-back repeat guests.
I know. I love it. I love it. It feels like a good way to spend the holidays.
Let's welcome River. You do the honors.
Bailey is back. Hi,
Yay!
Hi, everybody. Thank you.
Hi,
both.
sweetie. We're so happy to see you.
I'm so happy to be here. I love you both, and I love the listeners. So thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Will you just like quickly give us just like a little rundown of who you are and what you do, just in case people who are listening to this episode didn't catch the first episode with you on it? Just kind of give us like a recap of like you.
Of course, I'm a channel for energy and a healing guide at heart. So that means that I channel pure energy. I work with the spirit guides of another person's divine team to deliver messaging. I tap into the energetic field of another person to help guide them on their healing. So I'm here to be of service, to do light work, and my day job is working in the fashion and commercial industry. I am a fashion, print, and commercial model, and I do a lot of channeling energy on set when I work with creative teams to bring their vision to life.
Okay, that's freaking cool. I didn't know that last little part. Like I
Yeah,
knew
same. And I'm like, what does that look like? How does that look?
Share a little bit of that goodness right there.
That just started when I opened up my channel spiritually. I started realizing there was a capacity to allow my channel to be open in a creative performance way. So like, for example, I just shot a TV commercial in Arizona in February this year. On set, I was guided by my spirit guides to say to myself and to my team, Spirit, I welcome you to work through me in this moment as I'm acting. So it's very much like method acting. I open up my channel, I let energy of the highest good work through my body, and I'm, laughing and performing commercially and doing what the production team is asking me to do, but I feel like I'm bringing a high frequency to the project that will then be felt when the project is casted out on television and stuff like that. So I've started allowing myself to channel within the work that I do so I can shine light in a more public way as well.
That's freaking dope.
Yeah.
That's actually really, really cool. I know one of the things that we wanted to discuss with you today is there is a lot of energy coming out of 1111 portal still. Like I feel like this last like 8 weeks has been just one hell of a spiritual journey of energy, and for both the divine feminine collective and the divine masculine collective. And let me state again for those folks who are learning and sort of tapping into spirituality, there is no gender assigned to these roles, right? It's an energy, and there's men who are divine feminine and there are women who are divine masculine, and it just depends on sort of where they are in their personal journeys.
Yes, that's so true. There is such a need to balance the masculine and feminine energy within yourself when you're on a journey where you're seeking out your divine counterpart. because typically one is more presenting one way, one is more presenting the other way, and the goal for both of them to come together, or multiple of them to come together, is to strike that balance within self, because we all have we all have masculine and feminine energy within us, that yin and yang.
Mm. Did yin and yang come from like Chinese dynasty, or did it come from Japanese? I have
Actually,
to look that up.
no.
I'm gonna look it up.
That
I
sounds
don't
like a
know.
generator task.
Yes, I just hear it and I say it from my guides. But yeah, that's what's really cool, is that when we're talking about divine masculines or divine feminines, we could be talking about anyone of any gender, because we all carry that energy.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
like that we put that distinction, because I feel like socially we just really get hung up on gender, and in spirituality there's gender has nothing to do with spirituality.
Right, because we're all these spiritual beings on our core, right? Like, and so it kind of we kind of look like alien Barbie dolls in a sense, because there are like no true genital, like you don't see
Yeah.
any photos we've seen of folks, of like super tall dudes, or like beings, or little beings, like whatever area, or they look like lions, or they look like, but so I just looked it up. So yin yang, the philosophy is at least 3,500 years old. Discussed in the 9th century BCE text known as the I Ching Book of Changes, but it is originated ancient Chinese philosophy.
Very
So I was right.
cool.
My intuition said that from the beginning. So that's cool.
Very cool to know that. Thank you. I wanted to say too, I'm hearing, to acknowledge, as human beings, we like to use labels because we use words on this physical plane. But other species, like other extraterrestrial beings that exist on other planets, because I channel ETs in addition to angelic masters,
Yeah.
they don't use labels that much. They're kind of more about energetics, and we as human beings have decided to just put like a label to every single thing, down to what we call ourselves. It's pretty wild.
It is really interesting, isn't it, that we have to like label every single thing? And with regards to that light language that you so share openly, in social media, I'm fascinated by, where do you guys all learn this light language? One, how does it come to you? But the other part is like, do you understand other people's light language, or is it something specific to you? Or is it the alphabet for you and when you're like channeling that state? Like, I've always sort of had that question, and I guess I was called to ask it now.
Thank you. Thank you for asking. Light language is the expression of one's soul signature. So we can all speak light language. It is channeling energetic codes from the higher chakras. And basically, these codes are healing, activating, and nourishing on a physical and energetic level. So what I'm speaking is how the energetic codes are expressed through my body, but you can express light language through movement, through artwork, through your hands. This is where, it's kind of like a Reiki practitioner, but another level of it. If you were to even
Label it.
gauge that.
Yeah.
And light language is something that, if you're a healing person here on earth, it's something that you may offer to other people and transmit that energy. But really, you're just allowing yourself to be worked through from higher beings, basically. So light language is spoken by species that are non-human as well.
But
So would you say, like, I just, as you're saying that, I was thinking about, like for me as someone who writes, I look, as humans, we have such a deep connection to so many of the most beautiful authors and poets throughout history, and their use of words is, so inspiring and magical to some people. And you can read a poet and the way that they express what so many of us experience in the same words that we would maybe use on a daily basis, but the way they put it together just seems so magical. And you hear people say all the time, like, I can never write like that. Like is that a form of like light language? Like that is that person being able to translate and awaken and heal other people, maybe even through written word.
I think
Exactly.
musicians also, I
Mm.
feel, have that. And I am
Exactly.
loving the trend lately of more artistic musicians utilizing the different healing frequencies in their music. I find that to be so cool because of the fact that they are intentionally tweaking their sound or tweaking those vibrations to a specific calling, whatever it's for. It's like whether they're calling money to them or whether for abundance or calling love frequencies. And I wonder why certain music affects all of us so differently. And then sometimes a song can affect a collective the same exact way. It's interesting. So are those all
Yeah.
light languages basically?
Yes, so allowing your vessel to be worked through in connection to source, in a flow state, you are bringing light codes down and you're infusing it into whatever you're doing. So whether you're performing, whether you're playing an instrument, whether you're doing artwork or speaking it, how it's translated here on the physical plane, or doing written word, like River's saying, when you read a book, that's just so activating. There are light codes. There are light codes within that channel that you're picking up on. And you asked me earlier, my spirit guides want me to mention, you can understand the light language when you start strengthening telepathy.
Mm.
So when someone's speaking light language and I see it, sometimes I can listen to it and I can hear, you know, full body upgrade, clearing the heart chakra, and I can hear it on a telepathic level, but we're not supposed to understand it because we're supposed to feel it. Light language is to be felt. It is not something the logical mind can comprehend, but yes, there are variations of what we can comprehend, like written word and music and art. That too is light language. They also want me to talk about sound, if I can, really quick.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry, I didn't want to ramble.
No, you're
No,
not.
no, share.
Great. Go, baby, go.
Thank you. Sound's really important to me. I also do a lot of sound healing work. And I just got sound tools, tuning forks of all sounds that I trust on the Solfeggio scale. This is what the scale is called, the Solfeggio scale. And there are different frequencies that are associated with our chakra system. All the way above the 7th chakra, going up to the 12th chakra, there's a specific sound frequency. And this is what conscious artists are now doing, because our music forever has never really included frequencies that are resonant with our chakra field. Music has been created in its own way by those who were at that state of consciousness. Some great masters, like classical artists, did have this capacity to create music basically in a way that would be resonant with the field. But today, conscious artists are recognizing that if I want to make a song that will heal the collective, if I want to make music that will feel good to the collective. I'll include 528 hertz, so that way it's working on their solar plexus and their heart. If I want to help people feel secure and safe when I'm talking about a heavy topic, I'll use 396 hertz, the root chakra sound frequency. So it's almost like artists are figuring out finally that the Solfeggio scale helps our energetic body. And that's important if we're going to listen to music.
I like that.
So as you're saying that, it reminded me of a book. I think I shared this book a while back with you, Bailey. It's one that really made a huge impact for me when I was a teenager. It's called The Law of Love by Laura Esquivel, who wrote like Water for Chocolate. And this book is basically it's about twin flames, but it features the main character is basically a sound therapist, and she uses music to help people heal and process body trauma and past lives, and to do like hypnotherapy. And this book is so beautiful because there's a soundtrack included with it. So in different sections of the book, there's like almost like comic style imagery describing events that are happening in the books, and you're supposed to listen to a music track while reading this. And it made such a huge impact on me because it uses a lot of that kind of the hertz and some of the solfeggio, like all of that. And so as you're speaking, it just reminded me that because music, and I know this is someone who studied music can be so healing for the body and mind.
Yes, music wakes us up. It has the capacity to wake us up. And why is because music is vibration moving in a certain way, and we are vibration too. We are just energetic beings. So how do you tune and maintain energy? Well, you do that with energy. You heal an energetic body by tuning its energetic field. And how do we do that? We can do that with sound frequency. Why? Because when you play something next to the energetic field long enough, the energetic field is so intelligent that it starts matching. It starts matching the vibration that of which is being played. So it's saying, oh, similar vibrations. I'm going to sync to this because I recognize this, because ultimately we're just energy operating these bodies. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, and I will share. I go to sound therapy pretty often because I love sound therapy for myself, and the sound therapist I work with uses does like crystal grids and has a very extensive sound therapy studio. And I will never forget one of my first sessions with her. It was a very intense session, and I had these massive visions while it was happening. And at the end of it, she just got quiet and she was like, "Can you tell me what was happening during that for you?" Because she was like, the sound went to some wild places. She was like, I was using combinations of things I never would have felt called to use before. And so like her tools were matching to my frequency. It took us on a wild journey. And as she was explaining that, like, and as you're talking about that, I know for me that sound therapy has been such a deeply impactful tool.
Yes. Oh, Michelle's muted. One second.
There we go. Oh, hi. There you are.
When I do the Reiki, when I go to Reiki with Javante, he sometimes will play like these deeply rooted like Buddhist chanting, but like it's so low you can feel the vibration in your body. And then tonight I'm doing a sound healing class that I love over in Tempe with this great gal who I found on Meetup, and her name is Dana, and she's really amazing. And so, but tonight I was called. I feel like I need some of that. And it's like, for me, I take myself on a date and I go to the sound healing and then take myself out for like ramen afterwards. And because it's been raining here, that just sounds really good. But it's interesting how I am attracted to a specific sound of women's singing voices, for instance, Natalie from the Chicks, or from the Indigo Girls, like Emily's voice, or Jennifer Nettles from what's that band? God, it starts with an country singer, but I mean, it's like these women with really strong, powerful, like Kelly Clarkson or Pink, and I'm wondering if it would be really cool to create a list of some of the top musicians across different categories and seeing what those frequencies are, like each of them and their voice, and sort of why we are attracted to them, or maybe that's the cause of why they are superstars, because the frequency, like a lot of people have been talking about all the Swifties and all the spiritual people talking about Taylor Swift and saying that she is literally, you know, a divine being on this planet right now and knows how to and you know, I believe that she probably is living her best life, and you know, obviously, you know, doing what she needs to do for herself. But I don't know if she's intentional in her musical choices in that way. Like, I know she writes her own music and it all comes from that, but I don't know. What are your thoughts, Bailey, surrounding sort of what I just ranted?
Yeah, no, that's beautiful that you pick up on that. And they're saying that it's the frequency of one's soul. Like I said, light language is the soul expression. And you're picking up on the frequency of their soul. So whether or not they're aware of using solfeggio sounds in their music, their voice itself is emitting a vibration that you are recognizing as connected and being worked, allowing the body to be worked through in a way where they're completely surrendered. They're completely in a flow state. And you recognize that on a soul level, and you respect that because that feels good. That feels like where you came from. When somebody transcends, the body, when they leave the body and they let themselves just work their frequency, you can feel that. And another thing, Michele, before we started talking, you were mentioning you're getting like ringing. You're strongly clairaudient. So this means you can hear spirit. We have multiple clairs. So the ringing that you're hearing and all that, they're working on your clairaudience. And so you've always had the clairaudience because you're drawn to what you hear, right? And now you're working on receiving, hearing from your guides. And that's why sometimes you think of things and then you say it and it's a channeled message that I needed to hear, for example, like what happened before we hopped on.
Totally. Well, I mean, when the three of us are together, I really feel there's a healing that happens. And I think that's why when we're all finally like energetically in each other's space, no matter if it's just like this on a Zoom or obviously in person, there's a feeling of I could just be in this person's energetic field forever. Like you just feel like it's just literally like, you know, what we were talking about with regards to sun signs and the Taurus, you know, and the fact that the Taurus is my rising and why I love comfort and my, you know, and a big deep blanket, but people have to feel that way for me as well, you know, for me to like really be my whole self.
Yes. You can recognize where that exists and you gravitate toward it. And I think that's so special.
The going back to what you're saying about like clairaudience, like that topic really fascinates me. Like having multiple clairs or however you say it, like what are some, like maybe give us some examples of like what people might hear or feel, experience, like what are some of those? I'm still figuring that out for myself, and so I want to hear more about it because I love it.
Yes, thank you for asking. We all have clear senses, just like we all can speak light language. We all can do these things. Anybody with a psyche can be psychic. I say that all the time, but I reiterate it because I want people to know anybody at any state of consciousness can choose, because we have free will choice on this planet, can choose to remember, right? But we all have clear senses, just like you have five senses, just like you can smell, see, hear, touch, if you're blessed with all five senses. Our clear senses are clairaudience, which is clear hearing of spirit or intuitive downloads, clear cognizance, clear receiving of information out of nowhere that you shouldn't really know. Clairvoyance, you can clearly see visions, or perhaps you have dreams that are very prophetic or symbolic and clearing, and you just know stuff is going on in the dream world. Maybe you see spirit too. Maybe you're a literal medium. Clairalience is clear smelling. This is when you get like a whiff of like cigarette smoke, and all of a sudden you think of your grandpa, and they're giving you clear smelling related to energy. Okay. Clairsentience, clear feeling. This is when you get the chills.
Yep, I get them.
Yes, this is when you get the chills, and a spirit is stepping into your field, or somebody says something that really resonates. So you get a rush of chills up the body because spirit is saying, yes, pay attention. You know, that's what the chills are. I think I mentioned them all.
Yeah, for me it's very much the dreams and visions. Dreams and visions is very, very big for me. Hearing as
I
well.
have FOMO because you have like the coolest, craziest dreams. Like I only dream I only remember my dream very rarely.
I travel in my dreams. I travel in my sleep, and sometimes it's exhausting. Sometimes I can sleep for 12 hours and not feel rested because I have been so busy in my sleep that I don't feel, even though my body feels rested, my mind or my like spirit doesn't feel rested because I've been like in another world, basically. I would say that's probably my most strongly developed sense in that realm.
Yeah, I get the chills, and definitely audible for sure.
Yeah, and that's what's so cool is that your spirit guides are now working on activating all of these senses, because you will be able to work with all of them, and some will be stronger and some are your favorite and some are, like for me, for example, I had a really hard time with clairvoyance because I had a lot of fear. I had a lot of fear surrounding like seeing, and because I could feel the energy so strongly, I thought to myself, well, when I start seeing, can I really handle that? But there are some ways, just like River's saying, where I have very prophetic dreams. And that's a version of clairvoyance that I'm allowing. But we can work with all of these clair senses, and it's really cool when your guides start allowing you to activate them and your higher self chooses to activate them. And you can work with them so that way you can lead a more conscious life. You can have a more conscious experience. You can navigate the world with these other senses, and you can help people. You can help people like I do and like you both do as well.
It's so interesting to think that you're just a drop in this universe, right? But that you can make a difference. And I think where people get really lost is where they're too much in their 3D thinking about that they don't make a difference, like that whole thing of like of voting, like our democratic right to vote, and how people say, well, I'm not going to show up and vote because my vote doesn't matter. That's always really affected me on like a bigger plane, because I'm just thinking to them myself, like, how else do they think they don't matter in this world, right? That if they think their one vote doesn't matter, where else do they think maybe that smile that they withheld because they didn't think that would matter in someone's crappy fucking day that day, right? But it's amazing how much every bit matters. Every human, every like micro positive vibe or energy you can like send someone matters.
Yeah.
Yes, we can make a wave. We can make a wave of energy. It's where focus goes, energy flows. So we all put our heads together and focus on the same idea. When we were talking about, I was just clearing energy when I breathed heavy.
Okay.
Thank you. When you were talking about people not wanting to like participate on the physical plane, a lot of the collective feels really defeated, and that's what I was clearing, because they feel that the human plane is very controlled, and that's why they're like, I don't want to even try because I can pick up on that. But what a shame, because if you connect on a soul level and you realize that the energetic plane can help move mountains on the physical plane, then you realize how much you do matter, that you are capable of moving those mountains with connection to your soul and to the higher realms. So it's we're working right now collectively to not just give up and surrender control to the physical plane. We're working to heal and revive the physical plane in connection to source, and I mean in connection to energy. Does that make sense?
Like, it's so fascinating, like as you were talking about them, just thinking of like examples and like of how something small can cause such a big ripple and a big wave and move mountains, like you were saying. So like, for example, just even like right now, what's going on with Palestine. So like Yemen is controlling the seas right now. This small country that is one of the poorest countries and needs so much assistance with food and aid is basically showing up to these big countries and being like, fuck you all. we're here for Palestine. You don't get to go through here. We're going to control this tiny aspect that we can control. And it is causing so much havoc internationally.
Yes.
That is just a beautiful example of like small and mighty. Like, you might not think that you have the ability to make an impact or to create change or to move mountains, but conviction and showing up for what you believe is right can make such a huge ripple effect.
Well, the thing that is kind of bringing me to that whole democratic, speaking about labels and titles and words, and how America, right now with America coming into 2024, it's an election year. And I think it's really critical because, there's a crazy, like a movement right now where states are legitimately pulling Trump's name out of voting, like being able to vote, taking them off the ballot, taking him figuratively and literally off the ballot. And I just want to brace everybody who live in America that this is going to be a very challenging year, as well as people, what we were talking about prior to the call, our pre-chat regarding where divine feminines are feeling exhausted right now. And, the masculines are coming out of this thinking, what the fuck is happening? There is going to be more of this this energy and this, as you were saying, yin and yang, but within ourselves, we're going to have to be grappling the divide, and challenges to lean more into softness, into patience, into a sense of your own meditation and protecting one's own energy. It's kind of like when you're in an airplane and the first thing they tell you, the safety brief is put on your mask first and then put a mask on somebody else, right? Like your child next to you. This is really, for me, without getting too political and too everything, but from an energetic standpoint, we are really going to need to do more in this next 12 months.
I want to say really fast before I forget it, because as you're saying this, what's coming up for me is like
yeah,
right now, especially I think in like American society, American culture, like the patriarchy is dying. The
yeah,
patriarchy is dying is what's happening.
they're old gray
And
men.
and and the way of doing things, the way that our patriarchal colonizer system has done things is being asked to change. We're being forced to address it. And I think that's one of the big energies happening right now collectively, is that the patriarchy is dying.
I
I think we're
also,
seeing that like internationally, and like the way that the US is showing up, the way that people are responding to the US, it's like we're being held accountable.
and also
In a big
watch,
way.
there are going to be more women getting into politics for this reason. There are going to be more divine, I should say, divine feminines entering CEO, and this is men or women. Remember, again, just like the first part of our conversation today, is that it doesn't matter if it's a physical man or a physical woman in the 3D, but more divine feminines are going to be in leadership positions because of the collective and because of where we are. And that's a global thing. There's going to be more divine feminines taking over high powered positions to soften what's happening here in new earth, new timelines, parallel universes, whatever you believe in. And I'm getting some validation from Bailey here, but we'll
Bailey's
leave.
just nodding and nodding.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. We'll leave it open now. What are your thoughts, Bailey? What are you channeling?
Yeah, yes, the guides are talking to me, and I just want you to know that resonates. Yes, the divine feminine energy has been awake and working on this shift within themselves and collectively too. And we've been encouraging the divine masculine energies and the children and the other people who are just waking up. Everyone, we've been working on this shift. So, just like we talked about in the last podcast, different systems are going to collapse,
Mhm.
and light beings are going to get into those systems and raise the vibration and start consciously suggesting a new order that's in connection to like being a conscious human being, a sovereign human being. That's the greater goal, is freedom, sovereignty. Everybody has this capacity to not be driven by division.
Mhm.
And that's why the divine feminines, like me, for example, I would have a few years ago, if you would have told me I care so much about health and wellness and medicine and healing, I would laugh, because I had no interest in the medical world. I had no interest in nursing people. I wanted to do something completely different. But now I'm being called to heal myself, learn
Mhm.
healing practices,
Mhm.
and be a healing woman, because that's what
Mhm.
the collective now needs.
Mhm.
They, they need feminine energy that's connected to source, because the medical system is going to collapse as well, and is and has since 2020. And so what's happening is that the the war has been happening on an energetic level for a very long time, and now what we're seeing is it's manifested on the physical plane. And sorry.
Yes, I'm agreeing with you.
So as above, so below. And now we're seeing that, and that's what's happening. And I was having a really hard time, they want me to mention. About a year ago, I started having dreams, like River was saying, doing astral work, started having dreams about war. I would see missiles flying. I would be hiding in a treehouse sheltering people, and it was devastation. And I was so upset. I would reach out to my friends who are in my spirit team, and I would say, like, I'm seeing this. What do I do? I was tapping into it in advance. And then as it's now manifested, when it started manifesting in a more visible way, right? Because there's constantly division and there's constantly pain happening on this planet. I started getting really overwhelmed because the war has now reached the physical plane. But what is this war? This war is energetic, activated, conscious beings are trying to stop the constant division and control that is happening on this planet by waking up, by freeing and healing themselves, by saying, you do matter, you can change this world, right? And we're trying to cast light over this planet. We're trying to help this planet not be led by darkness any longer. And when this started manifesting what's occurring, and you start tapping into like what's happening globally on a visible level, I started feeling like, what do I do? What do I do to participate? And Spirit guided me to create a global meditation, a peace meditation, and share it. And I made this peace meditation with a divine masculine energy.
So beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. And we came together, we joined our forces, and that's what we were called to do. We were called to guide a meditation, send healing and activation to a particular area on this planet that is suffering, and also make it timeless. So that way, as we continue to experience the collapse of these different systems, people can keep revisiting it and tap in, because we're going to see a lot over the next 6 to 7 years. And this is the beginning of that crumble, and we are here to be present, and we are here to be conscious within it. And it's not going to be easy, but we are here for a reason. And yes, this is just what they wanted to validate.
I just was hearing soul purpose, and meaning the way that I've been hearing this lately is that everybody, whether it's the awakened collective or the unconscious collective, the way that it's manifesting in the 3D for people are very similar to what River has been doing lately, whereas she is working, she took herself out of her normal livelihood to create a sense of purpose around a soul, like a soul elevated purpose. And it literally is just it's manifesting in the way of bringing her money in multiple ways, instead of her thinking that it was just this one way to earn her living. And people who are like me and with large global corporations working, I think the way that it's going to be manifesting and starting in January into 2026 and beyond are the way that the human collective can kind of recognize it for themselves. Because I always feel like our purpose of the podcast here is not to just share what we're hearing, what we know, what we think, what we feel, but also to give it a sense of grounding around it's going to show up for the everyday human as to, why am I doing what I'm doing right now? And how can I be doing something that really fills my heart, like my spirit hustle, something that really resonates for me, that won't feel like a job, and more like the sense of a purpose, a soul purpose that, like my mom used to tell me when I was 8 years old, and my brother and I would be laughing at her because she'd be like, no, guys, if you wanted to be a trash man and it made you happy, then you be the best damn trash man you can be, and don't worry about the money, because when you're doing something within your soul purpose, the money will flow. It's like how we bring through, right? So I'm just hearing soul purpose. And so I want to reassure people that if they're having this like back and forth with themselves in the 3D, to start journaling, to start writing those things down of what they love about what they're doing, what they don't love about what they're doing, but the practicality of like, what else, like what would didn't get paid, if you could do it for free for the rest of your life, what does that look like? And I think getting more in touch with that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, and I will add to that, like we were talking about, for me, I took a big step away from what I consider to be my career that I've done for 10 plus years. And what I'm finding for myself, and what I'm hearing a lot of conversations I'm having with people around me, is that collectively, we are really exhausted by the systems that we have created over time that we're expected to adhere to in order to live like a purposeful life. When you start waking up to what it is that you're doing and how you're contributing and participating and what you're subscribing to, you start to recognize that the systems that we've built don't serve us. They don't actually serve us. They serve very few people. They serve like 1% of the population. And, you find that even in terms of like, for me being a mother, and as I'm speaking with other mothers, and not just mothers, but just parents in general, doesn't matter what the gender is, like being a parent is such a strange concept right now because most parents are working to raise their children by paying other people to raise their children. And so like they're having children, but they're not being with their children. And I know for me being a single mother, one of the reasons I've made a shift from stepping away from the career I thought I was so invested in building for myself was that I recognized that nothing I was doing was actually allowing me to meet my highest priority, which for me, my highest priority is to be fully present with my children and to nurture my children and to not have to pay other people to raise my children while I'm just working to live. And I'm hearing that a lot from other parents of, we love our jobs, we love our careers, but like we love our children more and we want to be with our children and we don't get to see them. We're away from them 50 hours a week and then all of our money is going to paying the people who are raising them. And so there's just like a lot of awareness happening, recognition happening, I'm hearing around me, of the systems that we have don't serve because they have us disconnected from each other. They have us disconnected from our communities. They have us disconnected from our families, from our children, from ourselves. And people are realizing
we're all living a fucking hamster wheel. It's like,
yeah,
it's like
yeah.
just we're like it's just like it takes so much gumption and so much bravery and so much like love of yourself to jump the fuck out. And
Yeah,
it's
and I was telling this to a friend I was actually talking with a friend last night that I hadn't seen in a while, and he was asking me like how work and things was going, and I was telling him like, he was like, how's work? And I was like, he's like, you're probably really busy with photography. And I was like, actually, no, I haven't done a photo session since September because I've stepped away from it. I'm not doing it. And he was like, oh, wow, like, how are you supporting yourself? And I was like, well, actually, since I made that decision, like, I am doing the most basic of jobs. Like, I'm taking care of my children and I'm working as a nanny and taking care of another child for a family who very much appreciates the love and support I give to their child. And for the longest time, I would have considered that to be such a step down, you know what I mean? Like not like a socially acceptable way of, making an income, but it's like, I'm doing a radical thing where I'm just doing what I need to do to pay the bills and then pouring out into my children and taking care of myself. And when I was explaining that to him, he was like, wow, you have very intentionally built a life for yourself. And he's like, that is not typical of single parents. Like most single parents are just exhausted and working multiple jobs and just never see their children. They're drained. And he's like, you look like you feel good and you're just kind of like radiating. And I was like, yeah, because I'm meeting my priorities and I'm living intentionally outside of how society's telling me I should be living. I'm creating it for myself.
Yes, 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 River. That is it. And on a soul level, those with children know that the children are quite literally our future that are going to change the world when we aren't here. So we're realizing, wait a minute, if these systems taught me this, and I'm currently doing healing related to this, the school system, the legal system, and so on and so forth, the medical system, I'm healing. Why would I like hand my creation over to that to repeat that? Wait a minute, I'm going to get involved. I'm going to intervene here. I don't want my child to repeat those cycles and have to heal what I'm currently healing. And I'm going to get a little bit more involved. And that's the goal, because the children need us. We're collapsing these systems for the children so that way they can have a better earthly experience and learn things different than that we had to go through a lot of experiencing trauma and control and division. So we want this place to be a different experience for them, so that way they don't have to just relive that once again. And you're being an alive person. You're daring to be alive, to live consciously, to lead your life intentionally, just like you were saying. And one of the purposes here for many, I hear again and again and again, is protect the children. Mm-hmm. Protect the children, guide the children, teach them what your tools are, and give them choice, because they too have choice whether they want to be involved in meditating or it's not for them, and they're going to repeat that cycle because their soul signed up for that. You know what I mean? So very, very on track with one of your purposes here.
Yeah. It's, oh, what were we going to say, Michelle?
No, go for it, sweetie.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, as a parent, and maybe Michelle, this resonates for you as well. And then Bailey, you have, young children in your life as well, I believe. And just these next generations of children are just so highly intellectual, and they are so
empathetic.
They're so vocal. And I really got a reminder of that. Like yesterday I was out Christmas shopping, and I ran into someone at a store who was working there, an employee there, and she was like, "Oh, I saw your daughter today." And I went up to her and said, "Oh, hi, I know your mom, and you must be Ivy." And my daughter, she was like, this woman told me, she was like, "Your daughter is so outspoken, and she's so confident about who she is, and she's so opinionated, and she doesn't give a shit what anybody thinks about her opinion." And that is kind of like my experience with the children that are growing up right now. Like, they are confident, they are secure, they are peaceful, they're not afraid to call out the bullshit. And I'm not going to generalize and say all of them, because not everyone's having that experience as children, but a lot of these children that are raising up right now, they see so clearly, I think.
Well, I think the conscious parent collective out there is forcing themselves to parent from a place of cutting as much ancestral bullshit that we can possibly cut. I mean, I am so intentional behind every way that I am in a teachable moment with Kaden, and that I'm not just speaking to her, but I actually say to her, "This is how it was for mom, your grandma, my mom. This is how it was for me in this moment. And this is how I am working on it being for you. And I want you to know that I make these choices of how I parent you so consciously, from the point of getting a divorce and knowing that your life would be happier without the two of us bickering or not living our best life together as a unit, but giving you that opportunity to see your two parents fully go after what they choose and want, that lifts them up, makes them happy, joyous, insert whatever, word you want to insert there. But overall, and it's worked. I mean, it really has. And I know I say a lot, like, parents should not stay together for the kids. There's zero reason these days, because these kids are so much more highly intuitive than we were back in the 80s. Like when I was growing up, I knew a lot of stuff, but there wasn't anyone talking about it. There wasn't anybody super conscious around me, around my families, or friends. I just always kind of trusted the fact that if it felt good, it must be okay. Like, you trust your own gut instinct, like we talked about on our intuition podcast a couple
Yeah.
of episodes ago. And I legitimately love seeing my child like yours, and I'm sure like your sister, Bailey, because she is a sweet, sweet spirit and soul that you have the pleasure of enjoying and teaching, from your perspective. And there's not different because we love these children. I love my kids. I love my friends' children the same way I love mine. Like
Yeah.
for real, like I just want them to know and be okay
Yeah.
within their being. Like that's
Yeah.
all I want.
Right. I have a lot of nieces and nephews um, that I know I carry a responsibility to, as long as I'm in super close connection to my family, I've let all the kids in the family know that, um, you know, angels can help you whenever you need them. Crystals exist, and why are they special and what can they do? Um, there is power in believing in yourself and um, believing in God, to lead you through life. Like on a very small scale, I share with kids my wisdom, and a big thing I teach them is how to self-soothe, how to use breath to self-soothe, how to go outside and walk around barefoot. And, I just like to make sure they know that those things exist, because I know that within their own households, um, you know, certain things, because I'm close with my family, certain things may be not be that I'm interested in may not be being discussed. So because I love them, out of love for them, I let them know what I'm passionate about and hope that that plants a seed for their future, on their journey. And yes, I feel it's an honor and to be a guide to a little one. So River, like you were saying, um, you would consider, guiding little ones in the past, maybe unacceptable to what you thought was like a high value lifestyle, but it's of the great honor to be a protector and a guide,
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Yeah, it truly is. It truly is. And the more I lean into that for myself, the more I lean into myself and nurture myself, the more I find myself wanting to then nurture outward as well.
yeah.
And I
And
think
that's
that's
something else we were just talking about is like loving ourselves and not focusing so much on the external love, right? Like looking for love outside of ourselves, but allowing ourselves to love, to be literally love, walking around with love, period.
Yeah.
And if someone walks across our path that has that same frequency vibration, that staying open to that might lead to something very unique, special, expansion, expanders, whatever it is. But I think first and foremost, the biggest gift that we three and the collective of souls that we all know to be out there is to be first love within ourselves, first and foremost.
yeah, and I think like going back to, what I said earlier about like the patriarchy is dying, like all of this feels so much to me like a return to like matriarchal life
Mhm.
where um to collective spirituality, to an awareness of that, to a celebration of that, to a celebration of the individual and the collective, and recognizing how interwoven we all are, and how taking care of self heals from the inside out into our collective. And just even, and you know, you were talking about like telling your daughter about the stories of like, this is what your grandmother's experience was. This is my experience was like, a matriarchal society is about sharing stories and staying connected and being creative and receiving and being open and understanding that life comes in ebbs and flows and challenges, and you have to ride that wave versus fight it and build systems and be logical and hard and hiding your emotions and all the and self-serving, like all the ways that the patriarchy has like built up for us. And so as we're seeing that die, we're seeing this return to earth, return to softness, return to collective healing. And it's so beautiful.
No, 100%. I freaking love all that because it's just bringing me to these, I'm just like getting all this information in my brain right now, but it's bringing me to a point where maybe back in the 1800s or beyond that, where women were really revered. Like women, like for, decades and decades and, 1600s, 1500s, but women, mothers were revered, you gave birth and it was like this magical thing that the women, and there was just a higher feeling around women. And we've lost that, which is why I feel like it's really coming back and why divine feminines are naturally gravitating and making, I mean, it's all within, it's all designed to do this, right?
Yes.
And it's fascinating because if you just look at America, let's just look at America for a second, like, because we live here. I can't speak to a lot of other countries because I don't live there, right? But like, look at America right now. Like, men talk down to us. And that's just one problem. That's just one.
I want to share something that was very recently very expanding for me and fits very much into this topic. So I'm going to share a little bit more of a personal note here. I recently met a man from another country, and he's a beautiful human being. And as we were exploring our connection and talking about potentially pursuing a relationship and all of that, he said something that was a trigger for me. He called himself a traditional man. And that was a huge trigger for me. And I had to step away from the conversation for a few hours to evaluate why that was a trigger for me. And what came up for me in that was that my experience of what traditional man means, it means forceful, it means ownership, it means women losing themselves, it means patriarchy, it means like, it was such a negative concept for me, like hearing the word traditional man. And I worked through that. And when I came back to the conversation, he was like, I could tell something, like, what happened? Do you want to talk about what came up for you? And it was so beautiful because when I expressed to him what that phrase made me feel, and I asked him, what does traditional mean to you? He explained that he was like, I'm a Muslim man. And for me, traditional means that I honor and respect and cherish women because they are the gateway to the spiritual. And all I mean when I say traditional is that my highest goal in a relationship is to be a safe space for a woman and protect her and honor her and nourish her and support whatever it is that she wants to create in the world. Yes. And that was just so mind-blowing for me to hear because that resonated so deeply. I was like, that is exactly what I want in a relationship, of being honored and treasured as the feminine, but not in a way that is like ownership, possessive, jealous, asking me to change or be less than myself. It's where the masculine can meet me in that space of honoring who I am. And I think that in context of like our culture shifting and the patriarchy fading out, it's the feminine is asking the masculine to recognize us in that way and step into that space with us and recognize that there has to be a balance between the two.
Yes. Yes. There's a quote that I saw on Instagram, or a post that said, there is a special place in heaven for the man who sees the woman as his oracle. And it's really, we're collectively surrendering to the divine feminine within us all. We're all collectively, men, women, people of all genders, are surrendering to receiving, like River said, softness, nurture, healing. All that is the feminine energy. We're all returning. We're returning back to it right now and surrendering to the divine, surrendering and trusting. And this is activating and aggravating a lot of the masculines collective as well, because it is calling on them to tap into that energy that maybe that they've lost touch with themselves due to years and years of programming. And at least in our country, like you guys were saying, in other countries it's practiced differently, right? So, but we are all surrendering right now, and masculines and men specifically, that are divine masculine energy, they have a capacity to be a safe space, to be a leader, to be a protector, to do so much good in this world. And I think the feminines really are trying to guide them to figuring out how to get there, because we all need to work together to strike this balance again and be a safe planet.
Yeah.
It's a lot of energy. I mean, so what should we be looking for into the next, 3 to 4 weeks, Bailey? And what are your thoughts? Should people be saging more? Should people be clearing, their energy? Is it a great time of year to, like, we usually call it spring cleaning, but what are you thinking?
I started shuffling my ascension deck as soon as you asked, and I got a ringing in the right side of my ear.
That's awesome.
What does the collective need to be aware of and tap into over the next, how many weeks did you say?
Just this next 3 to 4 weeks.
What is the message for the collective listening? Several popped out. Body, which is a card that has a tree with a lit up chakra system.
Gorgeous.
So you can expect a lot of activations on the energetic body and on the physical body. So when symptoms are coming up and you're feeling exhausted and drained and sick and activated, maybe you're just like super sweaty, maybe you're very irritable, or maybe you're blissed out and you just like are so excited. However it's manifesting for you in your physical and energetic body, please listen and just see what you're guided to do during this time related to the physical and energetic body. Just listen and take action as you're guided. Then vibration.
That's awesome.
That's a beautiful card.
That's really beautiful.
Vibration came out next. A lot of vibrational shifts over the next 3 to 4 weeks, and a lot of attention being brought to vibration. And what does that mean? How do I work with vibration? Can I work with vibration via sound, via art, via word? What is my vibration? What is the vibration of those in my surroundings? Being aware of this. Perception came out.
That looks something out of Twilight.
Yes. This card is very dark and moody, and while there's darkness, there's also a cloud of light. Let's see what the book says, Spirit says.
I love this. I did not ask her for this. This is freaking dope.
So I love it because I also, like, randomly, as I was leaving my house to come find a quiet space to do this, I actually brought a deck as well.
Yes. we have to get cards from your deck too if you have a minute.
I will grab some while you're
Oh my
reading.
God, I love it.
Yes. Perception, subjective view, an impression usually slanted from our personal experience or our emotions. Therefore, things are not often as they seem.
Mm.
Research, ask questions for clarity. Am I distorting or am I exaggerating? What is my perception? What is the perception of another? So just really tapping into perception and realizing that perception is different for all of us. We're all perceiving the same thing that's happening differently. And just figuring out what is your perception of reality and not taking on the projection of another's perception. Just being mindful of that, because you don't have to take on someone.
Well, especially with people like they'll hear this will launch on Wednesday just after the holiday, but as people are winding down their time with friends and family, and to be really cognizant, and if you're about to leave family and friends to make the journey home after this holiday, for me, this is feeling like get clarity prior to leaving the house. So God forbid anything happen to either member or whatnot, just in life, because there are no, there's nothing, no, tomorrow is not promised, right? And all you can do is take advantage of the moment. So if you're feeling like, God, my mom really pissed me off, blah, 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 go and just talk to her about it before you leave. Like don't be in that perception phase, go and get clarity and ask, like, I love that. Like ask a couple of questions, like, did you mean that what you said really, like, or was that coming from a place of just being overwhelmed or from blah, 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 and just kind of trying to connect on that level and, basically hugging it out energetically as well as physically before, the journey home.
Yes, I
Love
love.
that.
May I add really quickly, Michele, I love that. I talk about conscious navigation constantly because it's a big topic for me. Also being on a twin journey like we talk about often. And conscious navigation to me, if I were to define it, it means there's you and I and the problem. Let's not be you and I against each other. Let's hover above and let's look at the problem together and talk about how we're both experiencing the problem. So let's consciously navigate what's going on from a higher state of awareness. And if you know how to do this, you can attempt to guide people on it. Like if you're having an issue, just like Michele just said.
I love that. I love that so much.
Did you pull a card, Riv?
Yeah, and so this is actually I'll shout out the creator of this deck because I love her and I follow her on Instagram and she's just a wonderful human being. Christine Gutierrez. This deck is the Wisdom del Alma deck, and it's 44 affirmation cards to activate your inner diosa. So it's all about divine feminine energy, and it's beautiful. So I figured I would share. There's 2 cards that came out, and when we're ready to just wrap up, maybe you can just use these affirmations to close out.
I love it. Well, anytime you want to do it, where I think we've had a beautiful conversation. Yeah. And we will obviously have Bailey back for number 3 because we can't escape, or nor do we want to escape her. She's stuck with us forever.
Thank
And I mean forever. Like
so
I'm not, yeah, like she is juicy, but no, I literally mean forever. Like I'll be following her ass through the ether, so don't worry.
And you do.
Whole family, baby.
You found me here again. We've had other lifetimes together and you found me again.
I always will find you. I always will.
I count on that. I know you will. And that's what I love about you. And my guides keep saying too, at some point we're going to talk about ETs. So that is also something that they would love to talk about on this platform when it's time.
We will absolutely. I was being more conscientious because you're coming off of having a cold. And I know how that affects your channeling. And so I think you'll tell us when it's time, and then we will just make the time. You know what I mean?
Yes, thank you so much for providing the space for me to deliver whatever comes up as we're connecting. So I'm excited to hear what Rivers pulled for us too, because I could use some affirmations right now. Thank you.
Yeah,
So
we
the
all
two
we all
cards that
could.
came out just absolutely lined up with this whole conversation. So I will share the first one. And it's beautiful, beautiful artwork.
Wow.
You can't see it if you're listening, but it's generations of a grandmother holding her daughter and then the daughter holding her daughter. And it says, as I heal myself, I heal my lineage. I create a lineage based on consciousness, compassion, and love. As I do the sacred work within myself to undo toxic behaviors, I liberate myself from the patterns of my family's past. I break generational molds and carve a new way for the next generation.
I'm getting a little emotional because I just
I know,
talked
I
about
see
that with
that.
you guys.
I
Like,
know.
I just got chills and affirmation from all that. And it's just like, it really makes me emotional because I'm just working so hard. It's all from love. It's not like it's a painful
Mm,
work. It's just the idea that I just want my child to just be the coolest, best human, feeling the most love she could ever feel in her life, and teaching her that within her own self, she's safe. And breaking that generational trauma for me is so, so important in how I parent. It's like, it's everything. So, whoa, that
yeah,
is just so affirming in that way. What's the other card?
right
Geez.
there with you, friend. Right there with you.
Thank you, love. Yeah, I know you are.
I feel that very.
So then the next card is, you can see the artwork there, but I empty myself to be filled by the divine. Guide me, use me, lead me. I release my own agenda. Instead, I allow the divine to take my hands and lead me on my life's path. I trust in the innate and divine plan for my life.
Beautiful. That is so in alignment with what we've been talking about, down to when Michele was bringing up that she recognizes when someone is being worked through, just in an artistic way. Spirit is your partner in life.
Mm-hmm.
And your greatest relationship is with your highest self.
Yeah.
And it's just so beautiful that you really can hand it over to the guides. And Spirit always says, take one step towards us, and we will take 10 steps towards you.
Yeah.
Because we have free will, we have to state that invitation. Otherwise, they just kind of hang around us, our spirit guides, and then they jump in when they absolutely have to. But you really have to welcome them in.
Agreed. Agreed. And man, I literally want to do this every day. I swear to God, I just love this energy so much. Another thing that just came through, and I'm just going to leave it at this, and I think we'll all talk about it offline a little bit, but I'd really like to come up with a way that we can create a conscious group of divine feminines, whether there be dads or moms, depending upon, and having a conscious virtual conversation, like providing a live out loud space of like-minded folks being able to talk, and maybe parents who are just not knowing how to be more conscious in their parenting, but would like to have a space where they can be that. And Bailey, I would love for you to be an essential part of that, where some of those downloads can really help guide and also affirm people. But I want to leave either earth gender available to be a part of it, so that it's not about being inclusive, it's about about belonging.
Yes.
And more that word belonging might be my 2024 word for the year.
Yes. Thank you. That is such a compliment and honor, because it would be very healing for me too to interact with other parents who desire to be conscious, to deliver any messaging from the guides on how to navigate parenting in this way. And then I'm sorry, clearing energy.
Mm-hmm.
That would just mean so much. And I think it would be so helpful too, because this is not easy. This is not easy when you start to accept that role. And I think the support group would be awesome so people get help processing.
Yeah, just a positive place where the things that they're thinking, they can be
A
validated.
community.
Yeah, just building a conscious collective of parents.
Yes, because I'm even finding that I work or love people that maybe one parent wants to do it consciously and the other parent is not even tapped in this way and still working on accepting a need to heal. So a safe space to say like, hey, I'm aware of wanting to do things differently. My partner is not. I just need friends that like can see me, because sometimes you might get talked out of potentially moving forward with such a thing if your partner's not on board completely. So just a safe space to say like, hey, I see you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just been to me lately, and interestingly enough, we spoke just about that a few podcasts ago. Remember, River's smiling because she knows exactly, like, we talked about when one parent is more spiritually inclined or wanting to, all of a sudden they're evolving, they're changing, and their spouse is not, the co-parent is not as either evolved or they're not as open. I mean, because I don't want to say that they're not, truly evolved, but a lot of times it's more like it just hasn't been awoken in them yet. And
Right.
sometimes they need a little chance to catch up. But yeah, I think all of this is beautiful, and it's a beautiful way to and
We're manifesting it for 2024. We're speaking it into intention.
yeah, no, for sure, because the 27th is when this is going to come out. So this is officially the last episode of season 1 of Live Out Loud, because I'm going to start season 2 in January and start labeling them season 2. So this is a great way to end the year, and have you, Bailey, as just such a beautiful stone of, if we talk about crystals, I mean, you are just one of the brightest crystals I get the pleasure of calling friend, and calling.
Oh, thank you. You both are my family. On a soul level, you have found me, and it's very precious to me that I have been found and seen, and I can see you back. So I'm glad we found each other, because we really can't do this alone.
No.
I didn't choose to wake up. It happened to me. And I'm so glad that we can support each other, because once you wake up, you can't go back to sleep. So
You really can't. I swear to God, I have tried to deny this bullshit, but
me too.
nope.
Me too. Oh, I've tried. I've been like, let's turn it off. Let's turn it off.
Yeah, just turn it down a little bit. Sometimes I'm just like, shut up. Let me just relax a little bit.
One thing quickly is, that's the thing, is like, if it's all too much, you just can navigate like, what does serve me, what does feel good, what is in connection to my source that I believe in, my higher power. You can just check in with self if it's all too much, and if you're not sure which direction to go in because you don't know what you can trust during this phase, because collectively we're going through a lot. Just know that you can trust yourself on a soul level. You can trust your inner knowing, and you can trust yourself to be led by whatever you call the higher power that you believe in.
Yeah, for sure. It's one
Yeah.
of those things, but I very much appreciate both of you. I wish you a beautiful
Thank you,
holiday.
friend.
Yep, I love you guys, and I am so loving this conversation, and I hope everyone else does too. So thank you to the listeners. Thank you for passing it on. Thank you for sharing what we do here. And I will put all of Bailey's information in the show notes per usual. And if you enjoyed this, go back and listen to our first one, because that was a great conversation as well.
Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you, listeners. Lots of
Thank you, loves.
If you enjoyed this episode today, be sure to subscribe and share, because what do we say, baby?
Sharing is caring.